for this strategy, we always have to start our analysis from the higher time frame, which in this case would be the 1 week time frame. I always emphasize on the importance of doing a proper top-down analysis. A top-down analysis is when you start your analysis from the high time frame and then work your way down to the lower time frame. So for me, right, I do my analysis on the high time frame, right, from the 1 week down to like the 1 hour, and then if I ever go below the 1 hour, I'm actually looking for entry in time. Like, don't worry, don't let me rush you. But basically, we're going to start our analysis from the higher time frame, which is the 1 week, and then work our way down to the lower time frame to find entries. That's literally all that we're going to be doing. So for this course, I mean, for this example, we're going to be applying the first three things that we talked about: what has price been doing, what is price currently doing, and what's the next likely thing for price to do. So let's look at this. Right, we don't want to go too far, right? You don't want to scroll too far back into the past, because remember, you're looking to day trade, not swing. You're looking to take trades that are like likely going to happen within a day, right? And on average, when it comes to currency trading, we have an average of 50 to 100 piece movements every day. So that is not so much, like nothing too gigantic. So you don't want to go too far into the past to find trades like that. So now we don't want to zoom too far in either, right? Just something moderate, not too far out, not too far in. Like this is pretty much good. I would say if you want to do this, right, let's say 1, 2, 3, which is quite good. And then I bring this down so that I can move, and then I zoom back in. Really, I don't want to go too far out. Now, moving on, let's see what has price been doing, right? That's where we get to look from the left hand side to the right hand side. So if we're looking from the right hand side, we would see that what price has been doing is this right here, which is an uptrend. But what is price currently doing? It is no longer following that uptrend, right? It has now broken out of that trend. We now have an uptrend, a downtrend, I mean falling. Now, if you don't know what a downtrend is or an uptrend is, shit, I'm not sure if this course is for you. But I would say, for the sake of you that are here right now, if you don't understand what trends are, I'm going to create a separate YouTube video for you guys, and I'm going to link it in the comment section or wherever, or maybe in the email when you get the course. I'm going to figure a way out actually to get across to you, but basically, um, I'm going to get across to you, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you need any other assistance after I've created that YouTube video or tutorial videos on how to identify trends, if you need a proper trading and education, in case you do not have that one, I'll be clear with you. You need a proper trading education, and if you need that, I created a course that literally details all of these things, from the basics of trading, what is trading, these trading sessions, the currency pairs, how to pick currency pairs, how to decide on what trading strategy. Basically, in that course, I covered every principle of trading that I know of, which is literally very solid, right? So ensure you check that out if you need it. But if you do not proceed with this course, you don't have to buy all the courses in the world to um to make money profitably, right? I didn't have a mentor. I was not taught by anyone. All of these things that I learned, that I'm teaching you, actually literally learned on my own, the hard way anyway, which is not always the best way. It costed me so much, right? It costed me time, money, relationships, and all of that. But that's not the point of this video, so let's not dwell on that. Now we can see that price is now in a downtrend, right? Which means what has been currently happening is that we were in an uptrend, but that is now changing since price has started to create lower lows, right? So it means what has been happening at this moment is no longer valid. We want to pay more attention to what is currently happening, so that we can determine what is likely to happen next. Now, in a downtrend, there are two things that are bound to happen, right? Creation of lower lows and lower highs, right? So now let's look at what is currently happening in the market. We have a downtrend forming, and for a downtrend, we know that we have lower lows and lower highs. So look at this right here. We have swing low to create a low, and then swing high, a lower high, right? And then we have another swing low being created, and now again we have a lower high. So the next logical thing for price to want to do is to create a lower low. So it means the next likely thing for price to do is to fall, I mean to dump. But here's the thing again: trades like this get invalidated all the time in the market. For example, I mean, look at how long price has been in an uptrend at this point, and then suddenly boom, it changes. All right. So that does not mean because something is the next likely thing to happen does not mean it's what is exactly going to happen, which is why I talked about the part of putting plans in place for the two logical places that price can literally head in, right? Either to the upside or to the downside. So we're still going to put plans in place for if price moves to the upside. But for now, since we know the next likely thing for price to do is to move to the downside, then we want to make accurate, proper preparation for that. And then when we're done with that, we make preparation for when price does not go the way we anticipate, and how can we make money from that. Now, remember, I said that for us to be able to properly decipher these things, we have to consider trend, market structure, and price action, which I literally just did. In case you don't realize, let me remind you, for the trend was when I was identifying the trend, and then for the market structure, we haven't talked about that yet, which we're going to talk about now. So for the market structure, this is where we are looking for areas of, areas where prices struggle to break above or below. That's literally what I mean by market structure in this context. All right. We're looking for areas where prices are struggle to break above or below. Um, and for that, we are looking for areas where we can find a lot of weak rejections, either at the top or at the bottom, or wherever price found it out to go above. Now, for me, I don't want to go too far out, right? Somebody can come here and speak a resistance level. It is not invalid. But what are the odds that price will trade from right here, the spot price, all the way up to this point for about 500 pips in one day before it comes back to retest that area? So I don't want to go that far out. I want to zoom and then see where is the most likely place for price to react to it. I mean, apparently it is right here. Price is reacting a lot to this area right now, right? So I'm going to mark this out rather than try to go all the way to the top, and then I'm going to try to validate at that my level by going to the left hand side to see if price has ever reacted on around that level before, just to valid to see if that area is valid, and apparently it is. We see our price had issues around here. Price sat quite pretty at this point, and then for like 2 weeks, right? This every candle on this particular time frame, it represents 1 week. So for 2 weeks, price had difficulty going below here, and every time price came there, it bounced back up. So I consider this quite valid. If you move quite back, you see a couple of more times. So let's not dwell too much in that. Now, if price is now here's one more thing. I color code my chart just so that for hierarchy purposes. So when I'm looking at my analysis, I understand better. I know what time frame I got what from and why anything is where it is. Moving on. If price is to dump, where is the most likely place for price to find challenge going below for the course of a day or a week at most, right? I would say right here is the next likely place for price to have reaction. So for this one, I'm going to use an horizontal line because I mean it's pretty much like a price point, right? So I'm picking this area because this is like the lowest price point so far for this scenario. All right. And then I want to extend to the left hand side just to see if there's ever been a point in the past where that held. And yeah, pretty much if I'm to like extend it and use a box instead, or a rectangle, whatever, I'm not an Englishman, you would see that this literally held, right? All of this place acted as support right here. Price held quite not too much around here, but below here price held as resistance. You can see for first week, second week, third week rejected before like the fourth week when price finally broke above it, and then the next time price came back there, it bounced above it. So it's pretty valid. But yeah, one more thing, right? What are the odds that price would trade all the way down there in the course of 1 week? So we're 132 pips. I mean, 139, that's not literally impossible for a whole week. But then I still see this area right here, which I'm going to mark out, and then I'm going to explain the importance of that, right? For price to be able to trade all the way down here, it has to overcome this obstacle here. Because I mean, look at this, right? Look at this very clearly. A couple of times price has tried to break below that area right here, but it couldn't, right? It got pushed all the way back to the top. And recently, just this week that we closed, today's Friday, so the market isn't moving, we can see our price literally just bounced off that level. So it means that for price to be able to come trade all the way down here, it has to break below this level before we can see price move all the way down here. So we want to of course pay attention to it, and then we know if price is able to break below this here on the weekly time frame, we know that there's a higher probability for price trading all the way back to this area. But if it doesn't, here's the part where we now make preparation for the next possible scenario. It means that if price doesn't break below here, then price is likely going to return back to the top, right? And maybe, just maybe, it's going to break outside of this trend and then move to the upside, where now is where I want to look for where is the next likely place for price to move to if it decides to go up, which I mean it's going to be right here. I mean, we have a lot of sellers, every presence of sellers right here. Why am I saying that? Because I mean, price pushed all the way up here, and then we can see this weak rejection to the downside. It means that we had an every presence of sellers right here. So I mean, if price comes back there, it is likely to experience some resistance before it's able to go up. So we want to take some profits around here. If we are to take any buys for about 71 pips, not bad if you're day trading. And if price breaks above that level, then maybe we're going to see all around this area. But that's another time. We don't want to do too much, right? We don't want to have too much on our chart. I'm a big fan of minimalist trading, really. I don't like too much on my screen, which is why you would rarely, rarely ever find indicators on my chart. I doubt I've used an indicator so far this year, and this is February. Even all of last year, I can almost count on my hand the amount of times I used indicators. When I use them, I'm probably teaching or I'm trying to explain something to somebody, which is still the same as teaching anyway. Oh, this video is pretty long. Sorry, I'm going to end this one as soon as I round up with this analysis, and then in the next video we'll talk about things further. Right now, moving on, since we have determined all of the likely zones for price to head to, if it's going to the upside or it's going to the downside, we want to drop to the daily time frame to further validate our analysis. All right. Now, on the daily time frame, we're literally still looking for the same thing. All right, we're looking for what has price been doing, what is price currently doing, and what's the next likely thing for price to do. Now remember, let me go back to the 1 week time frame. Right, I did talk about one thing, which is price action, which we're yet to talk about. So when we talk about price action, we're talking about candlestick formation and patterns. And when it comes to these things, there are two things that I like to look out for in the context of this trade, in the context of this strategy. It is either rejection and confirmation. Right now, when I'm talking about rejection, right, I am saying I want to see a rejection in the opposite direction. So for example, if let's say I'm looking to buy at this level, right, rather than see a rejection to the upper, I want to see a rejection to away from this bottom side, right? I want to see a price reject this area either via a bullish candle or a rejection bearish candle. For example, look at this point right here, right? We had a rejection, right? A weak rejection to the downside, which is basically, indicating a possible movement to the upside. So that's the type of rejection I'm talking about. This is not the exact candle I always look out for, but this is an example of a rejection. And then for the confirmation part is where I want to see, all right, cool, a candle now moving in the direction I want it to move in, right? So that is what I mean by price action. For this context of this strategy, we're looking for rejections and confirmation. Rejections can be in numerous forms, right? For me, my favorite form of rejection would be the armor and the inverted armor. And then for my confirmation, I like to see engulfing bars, right? Once I see that, I can pretty much say, well, price action is on my side. Now moving on to the daily time frame. So if you do have any question, do not hesitate to reach out. All right, reach out as quickly as you can, and then I'm going to respond as quickly as I can as well, and I'm going to try to do my best to resolve whatever the problem is. Now we're going to repeat the same step on the daily time frame to further solidify our plan, because you want to ensure that you have at least 3 time frames in your favor. You want to have, excuse me, you want to have at least 3 time frames saying the same thing. All right, then when you have 3 time frames saying the same thing, then it means the trade is more likely going to go in your way. Now on the daily time frame, we can literally see the downtrend more clearly. All right, and then um let's see what else. Pretty much there's no uptrend, so it means that the anticipation we have is correct. But for price to go below here, we can see the support level I drew on the weekly time frame more clearly and valid here, right? We can see our price is acting cutely as a support level here, acted as resistance, acted as support a couple of times here, and still acts as support. So it means for price to go down here, it literally has to break below here and close below here, not just break it. It literally has to close below here, and then we're going to take a trade towards this level. In the subsequent videos, we're going to talk about entry types and then exit types, how to do all of those. Now we're looking for the same thing. We now know what has been happening. What is currently happening is that price is pretty much stuck in the range. It's neither making higher highs or higher lows. That's what's currently happening. But for price to do that, it needs to break below here, or at least give us a clear rejection to the upside, and then we can go on the lower time frame, take a rejection confirmation to the upside. So the market structure pretty much still the same. I don't see any new market structure here that was supposed to like draw out. Other than I wouldn't nah, there's really no need to draw this one out. It's just going to be excess repetition. But for the sake of those who would want to see what I was talking about, it would be this area of rejection, or some yeah, you see our price, rejected around this level. I like to draw my zones from the body to the wick, all right, from the closing to the wick is how I like to draw my, which is why I drag this up here, because I mean we have some body here, but you can also put it down here. It's quite still valid as well. All right, and then I'm going to color code this. I'm going to switch this to the daily blue. Basically, when I do this, is just again aesthetic purpose, not just aesthetic purpose, hierarchy, right? And let's see. I think that's pretty much all that there is in this one. Now, seeing that there's nothing more, what do I do? I'm going to go to the 4 hour time frame and then perform the same form of investigation. What has been happening, what is currently happening, what is the next thing to happen, what is the next likely thing to happen, and then I check for market structure, price action, and trend, which apparently the trend, overall trend, is a downtrend, further confirming what we have on the weekly time frame. And now for the 4 hour time frame, right? What is currently happening? We can see that price has been moving sideways. That is what is currently happening on the 4 hour time frame, right? We have price moving sideways, or a range. We don't want to be trading in a range, so we want to wait for price to clearly break outside of this range before we do anything at all. And thank God this is just a 17 minutes. Jesus, this is really long. I'm sorry if I just really want you guys to really understand these things, why I talk so much. Literally we're in a range. That's what is currently happening, and for us to take any trend, we need to literally see a clear breakout either to the upside or to the upside or to the downside before we can do anything, which again, just like I've been repeating over and over and over again, we need price to either break outside of this support level before we can take sales, or we need price to clearly reject off this level, right, and then confirm, then we can take buys up to this point, which I don't think is a very good risk to reward trade. It's too risky for me to take any buys confidently. I mean, at least long-term buys. I won't see price break outside of this, right? Around here, then I can take some buys off here, which I mean, buys doesn't really look like it. If in all honesty, the rewards are just not bad really, but I mean, this is just an example anyway. So this video is literally very long already. It's about 18 minutes at this point. I don't want to prolong this video any further. I'm going to drop to the 1 hour time frame, and let's see if what we have is the same over here. And basically, now this is where the point where I start to draw my parts. Like, what do I want to see? What am I expecting? What's the plan? So the plan for this one will be, if price breaks and close below this level, I want to see a retest and then take my sell towards this area. If price doesn't do that, let's say we have a clear rejection, which inside of a range would not be entirely valid. I would never recommend that you take trades inside a range. So in this scenario, I can use the price rejection and confirming above this level for us to take buys to this point, but it's a range, right? I wouldn't recommend trading in range. It's risky, especially if you're not very experienced with trading. So in this scenario, right, the most appropriate thing to do would be to wait for price break outside of this range, close outside of it, retest this level, and then reject and confirm. Then we can take buys towards this level. If it was in a saner environment, we want to see a rejection of this level, confirmation, and then take buys towards this level. But it's in a range, we don't want to be trading in a range. Now, that being said, if you do have any question, do not hesitate to let me know, right? In the next video, we're going to be talking about something more comprehensive, and we'll build on the principle I just taught you guys. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.